Hey everyone, hope you're all well. I'm Worthington Tactical, and today I'm going to discuss your dreams and your thoughts and your goals. Why is that important to our health? Well, it might be obvious why that's important to your mental health, but overall, we have to look at the holistic picture. If we just say, all right, well, it's about your mental health, well, how does your mental health affect your physical health? If you're depressed all the time, how's that going to affect you physiologically? And how is that going to bleed into other areas of your health and fitness? So everything's connected. And so it really all comes down to your why, right? Why am I doing anything, right? All of our decision making is going to come down to why we're doing it, right? Our motivations for doing something. So what you really want to think of is how your dream is going to allow you to make better decisions in areas like your fitness, your diet, your sleep, and your rest. And in turn, making those better decisions are going to allow you to think more clearly and have a better physiological process that will support and help you get to your goals more effectively, right? It's going to be very hard, even if you write down the best goals and you do all the steps. It's going to be a grind if you're depressed the whole time, or you're kind of walking around with no real clue of what direction you really want to go in. Then you're just spinning your wheels. So you're doing a lot of action, but you don't really know where you're going. You're just kind of driving in circles. So the whole purpose of setting goals and finding your why and having a dream is so that you have a clear vision of where you want to go. And then it becomes much easier to stay on track and then make decisions that are going to keep you on track and determine whether or not those decisions support moving in that direction. And then with a clear vision, you can also see when you start to get off track, okay, which is bound to happen, and it's okay, right? We're human. We're going to mess up. Okay, so moving forward, how do we determine our dream? Okay, we need to find something we desire that's bigger than the crisis that we're living in or living with. Okay, so what's more important to us than the pain we're experiencing now, right? If your motivation for doing something is not greater than your motivation for not doing something, well, you're just going to stay right where you're at. There's going to be no real change, okay? And that all comes down to willingness, right? How willing are you to make a change, right? You need a dream that's so important that you're willing to do anything to achieve that dream, okay? So generally, if we're looking at like a scale, you could say, all right, well, am I at least 7 out of 10 committed to doing this? If not, chances are you're going to make excuses or find reasons to not do it, okay? And that's just what studies show. That's in my experience working with clients in health and fitness. If you're not overwhelmingly committed to changing your lifestyle in the pursuit of achieving your goals or your dream, then you probably need a stronger dream, okay? Or you need to really look at finding a stronger why, right? Your reason for achieving that dream. A lot of people say like, oh, my dream is to just lose weight, for instance. Okay, let's make a real simplistic dream. Lose weight. Well, why, right? And if it's just because of some superficial reason, like, oh, well, somebody told me I needed to lose weight and so I want to feel whatever, right? That's not very rooted in your why, okay? It's really important that these goals be for you and not for somebody else, because by taking action for somebody else's desire, you're not really living out your dream, you're living out theirs, okay? And so you may feel that you're happier because maybe that person accepts you more or treats you differently now, ultimately you're just running into a cycle of disappointment because they're never going to be happy with you, and you are now making decisions that aren't based on your own happiness. Okay, so it's really important that when you think about what's important for you and what your dreams are, you really stay focused on what you want, not what maybe other people want for you. Okay. So with that, there's a couple of different ways you can look at how do I go about thinking about what changes I want to make. Okay. And there's positive and negative motivators. Okay. So it's not like one is bad or one is worse. It's just some people, it's going to work better for them to think about it with a negative bias or a positive bias. And that could be like, okay, well, maybe you're having some relationship issues. It could be at work. It could be with a spouse. You could think about it in one way and say, well, okay, I want to have better communication. Okay, that would be a positive way to think about it. You could also focus on the negative aspect of that and say, well, we're arguing. I want to argue less. Okay, it could also be, I want to save more money versus I want to stop spending so much. Okay, so you see one is focused on doing something, one is focused on not doing so much of something. Okay, so either adding more positivity into your lifestyle, okay, or making more positive actions, or reducing the amount of decisions or actions that aren't taking you towards your goals. Okay, so either will work. Figure out what thought processes are going to work best for you when you're really thinking about what goals you want to achieve. Okay. Remember that when the desire for change is greater than the resistance to change, change can then happen. Okay. We have to have a desire to do this, to change what's been comfortable for us in the past and do something that's probably going to be uncomfortable. Okay, so our why is really important there. We have to be willing to go through discomfort to get out of the current situation we're in. Okay, change is never going to be comfortable 100%. Okay, there's always going to be some level of discomfort, and that's normal. Okay, if you think of just any sort of homeostasis, it doesn't matter if things get hotter or things get colder, right? There's going to be a notice of difference in temperature, and that's going to be a little bit unsettling for a little bit until we adjust to that. So that's a real basic analogy of how things can be uncomfortable, but we can adjust to it. All right. If you've ever, turned on the water in the shower, made it really cold, which I recommend you do. I can maybe make a video on why I recommend you do that. It's going to be shocking at first, very uncomfortable. You might even be like, no, and just stop. But if you sit there and you really deal with that discomfort for a little bit, after a while, you actually start to adjust to being comfortable with that temperature. And you might find, oh, well, I could actually turn it down even colder and still deal with it. So it's amazing what your body can handle when your mind is really focused and determined on doing it, and you give yourself enough time to acclimate to that new situation. Okay, so it's kind of two things in one. It's the decision to do it and having a strong enough reason to do it, and then taking the steps to do that, which will be uncomfortable, and over time getting more comfortable with that decision-making process and those new choices that you've made, whether it be changing your diet, right? You may have physiological responses that don't feel good for a while because you're not comfortable with these new foods, right? You're like, where's all the other food that I'm used to having? And you might feel uncomfortable without those foods for a bit, but over time your body will adapt and you'll find that, hey, I didn't really need those foods. I just had a psychological reaction to those foods and an emotional attachment to those foods that made me feel like I needed those foods to feel a certain way or to be a certain way. All right. So Really look at what's important to you. Figure out your why you want to change in your life. And then everything from there is going to be supported by your strong reason and motivating factor to change. Okay? That doesn't mean it's easy, right? Motivation can go away. So you might get super motivated, watch a video, and be like all pumped up, ready to go. And that's great. The reality is you're probably not going to be that pumped up all the time and every day, day in and day out. So it really comes down to discipline, to consistently make these choices that move you towards your goal. And again, that comes down to your why, because you're probably going to slip up. You're probably going to make a choice to do something good and then make a mistake and then not do that, okay? Or not follow through or sell yourself short. And that's okay as long as you recognize what has happened and you realize that, okay, my why I'm doing this is stronger than why I haven't been doing this in the past, right? My desire to lose weight is stronger than my desire to go eat cookies right now. Okay? And if you slip up and you eat the cookies, just realize, hey, I messed up. I wasn't focused on why I decided to stop eating cookies in the first place. Let me take a step back. Let me get really clear on that again, and then I can move forward with greater clarity. Okay? It's not about being perfect. It's about looking at where you want to end up, okay? And then drawing a map from where you are to how you're going to get there, okay? And the road is going to be bumpy. You may have to take some detours, okay? But ultimately, it's about looking at where you're at and where you want to go, and then what's the best path to get there. And if you have to take a detour, reroute, replan, come back on track, or look at the map again and draw a new path from where you are currently, okay? So that was a basic overview of dreams versus crisis. What's your dream? What's your crisis? Dig deep into what are your reasons for change, okay? Why do you want to become a better person?